The following program contains the opinions of the host, guests, and call-in participants. These do not necessarily represent the views of this show's distributors or sponsors. This program may contain obscene, profane, or otherwise objectionable language. Viewer discretion is advised. Yes, coming to you cordless, everybody. we're freezing our asses off. It's 9 p.m. in Washington, D.C. It's 6 p.m. in San Francisco, 8 a.m. in Singapore, 12 noon in Sydney, Australia, and here where I'm sitting in Northeast Minneapolis, it's 8 p.m. Central Time, and I'm Jim Peters. Welcome to another edition of Jim Peters at Night. It's episode number 191, if you're keeping score at home, and it's cold as fuck here. Now, those people in Washington today, they're bitching about the fact that it was 28 degrees. I'm looking at the thermometer on my desktop here right now. It's 13 below outside. The high today was 8. Tonight, overnight, the low is going to be 20 below. These are not, not 8 below. And these are not wind chill, your mamby-pamby wind chill crap. This is actual real temperatures. Now, I've said this before. We have 2 or 3 days every January here where it gets like unbelievably ridiculously cold, and we are in that period right now. Now on Wednesday it's supposed to be 24. So yeah, okay, fine. You know, that's actually the average for this time of year. But we always get this in mid-January, 2 or 3 days where it gets ridiculously, unbelievably cold, and we're in it right now. And so I can complain about those pussies in Washington D.C., but I haven't stepped outside in 2 days. So who am I to say? Now tonight, I told my lovely wife I'm going to take the trash out, and that's going to be actual. This I'm not kidding about this. I take a cell phone with me because if I slip and fall, and no one can hear me scream, which is quite logical because there's no one else outside too. I could die out there, and I'm not. That's not joking. I really could. So. That's taking out the trash becomes a really life-threatening event. Tonight, we have Jennifer Oliver O'Connell here, and I think she's going to be the first person, maybe the second, who's ever been on this show 2 nights in a row. She was on Thursday with Jeff Meyer as part of the Dynamic Duo, and I asked her to come on tonight because she wrote pieces on RedState, where she's a regular writer, this weekend about, it's essentially inaugural trivia. Now, we'll go through some of the stuff that happened today later on, but I'm assuming at this point you know it. The only thing you might know, because this only happened about an hour ago, we're taping this, or this is live at 8 p.m., 8:03 Central Time. Marco Rubio was unanimously confirmed by the Senate as Secretary of State. That's the only probable news you might not know. I don't know how much you followed today. It was really interesting. Let's put Jennifer on right now. No bumper music, nothing. Hey, sweetheart, how you doing?
Hey, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. So I know you watched the proceedings today because you wrote a wonderful article about it in RedState about how Trump acknowledged the Black and Hispanic communities in his inaugural event. Yeah, that was pretty cool, wasn't it?
It was, and a first for, as far as I'm concerned, any politician.
Now, forgive me, did I see this in your piece or someone else's? About you were talking about the fact that, that the Black community was overjoyed when Obama got elected, and then turned out to be another 2-bit politician, right?
You got it. Yeah. That was. I mean, everybody was overjoyed because they thought, not just Blacks, but people were anxious to vote and prove that, we're not racist, we're a biracial society, we are a post-racial society. And 8 years later, between Trayvon Martin and Ferguson and all the other stuff, Beergate, all that stuff. It's like people realize, nah, he's just kind of an agitator, isn't he? Yeah.
What was the name of the guy who killed Trayvon Martin? George Zimmerman, was it?
George Zimmerman, I believe.
Zimmerman, yeah. That was so that that verdict was so screwed up. I can't tell you, because I mean, first of all, because the thing is, it was racist in the sense that Zimmerman was actually the perpetrator. I mean, so that's the part that it just pissed me off to no end.
He was the perpetrator, yes, but if you and that it's not just. I think they took it to a civil rights trial as well, trying to get him on civil rights when he got acquitted on the other stuff, and they could not find him liable even for violating Trayvon's civil rights. It's like, yeah, he was stupid and probably shouldn't have had a gun, but was it malicious intent? No, that could not be proven, and frankly, I don't think it was.
Yeah. But
there's a fine line between racist and stupid, and
okay,
he on the stupid side as far as I'm concerned.
The fact of the matter is, he did shoot a guy.
Well, they struck. I think if Trayvon had not been combative, and I know they say this all the time, but in this case, again, evidence shows, if you're looking at it from a legal standpoint, by Florida law, Zimmerman was technically standing his ground. Trayvon did struggle, did fight, and so that just escalated things.
I'm taking your word here.
Yeah. I mean, it was a long time ago, and it was very heated. Yeah, actually, that was kind of how I got established in in the political pundit space, is I actually wrote an opinion piece about it.
Well, you know what else? Now,
got a CNN appearance out of it.
I'm getting totally off topic here, but still. Another thing that was a long time ago was George Floyd. Well, not that long ago, I guess. But of all of those people, black men that were held up as kind of icons of victimhood, the one that really truly got screwed and was Fernando Castillo. Are you familiar with that case? Because that was also here in Minneapolis too. This guy was a paragon of citizenship. I mean, he was a wonderful human being, just going about his business, driving his car. He got stopped by this policeman and apparently this was really true. His taillight was out, and that escalated to the fact that the policeman shot him. And the thing I don't understand, Jennifer, is that all these men were held up as paragons of like racial victimhood, but he's the only. He's the only one who I would designate truly a victim of the system and overzealous cops. Right. Exactly. So my point, my question is, why wasn't his case of all these guys kind of fell through the cracks? I don't understand why. I really don't remember the details of the case in terms of whether they were black officers, white officers, It was an Asian officer. And that is probably why. It does not, for the social justice people, advocates and activists who push this stuff and escalate it, it's all about the optics. Trayvon Martin was, a white Hispanic man, black youth. George Floyd, white cop, black trouble, whatever. I mean, it's the same. It's. I mean, look at the Daniel Penny case. He wasn't a cop, but young white man, black perpetrator or black victim. So if it fits those optics, it's always going to get promoted. There are black on black crimes all the time where black young men and black women are being killed by black cops, and nobody pays any attention to it. It's a ridiculously skewed perspective because either all the crimes are bad or none of them are bad. Yeah. And I got to thank you, because maybe I'm stupid, but I got to admit that never occurred to me before. Yeah. He was an Asian cop. So yeah, I suppose. Yeah. I never thought about that. Let's move on to your two pieces here on basically which were, well, at least the first one was basically inauguration trivia. which was actually kind of cool. So today was the second time in the last 40 years it was done inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First time was 1985, Ronald Reagan, his second inauguration. So two second inaugurations, but
I don't know if you heard my screed about the weather, but apparently when Reagan did it, it was 7 degrees out. Today in Washington it was 28. And here in Minneapolis right now it's 13 below.
Yeah. So, I suspect that it was probably security concerns, which I don't care. I mean, hey, I just wanted him to swear the oath. I don't care where it was.
Well,
and he did.
I agree with you, except that why don't they won't fess up to that? It's like they insist it wasn't. I don't know. Maybe that's true. I don't know. I just like, and it's not kind of like them not to be transparent. So I kind of like, but I thought the same thing. I thought it was security concerns too. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of organizations who would love to claim the fact they shot Donald Trump while he's taking the oath.
You know it.
It's terrible. So let me see what else you got going on here. Hold on. Well, I actually want to talk about the second piece you wrote, which is about the vice presidency, because this is really fascinating. Because you brought up the fact that basically Harry Truman changed the whole game, or more precisely, FDR changed it by dying.
Yeah.
So you want to explain to the folks what's going on here?
FDR, everybody knows, from dramatizations, and if you're a history buff, you know the history that he was not in good health. I mean, he came off as robust, kind of like the Biden, deep fakes, cheap fakes that they were doing with Biden. And of course, this was there wasn't a whole lot of film reels, so. You could easily fake a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and also you didn't mention this in your piece, but the press kind of had an unwritten thing that they wouldn't.
They would not show him with his
wheelchair,
polio canes, or in his wheelchair.
Right.
He's either always behind a desk or he was on canes, particularly in his younger days.
Yeah.
They very much respected, and I mean, at least he had his faculties as compared to Biden. So seriously, so hey, he was acting as the president, even though physically he was not in the greatest of shape. You'd never have a Greg Abbott situation with FDR, because to them that looked like weakness.
Right. Well, as an aside, JFK was in bad health too, and nobody knew
he
that.
He was, and they totally covered it up.
Right.
But yeah, FDR, in his hubris, in the Constitution, the only role the vice president is the only named role for the vice president in the Constitution is he or she is the president of the Senate.
Yeah.
So that was the only acting role. And it was ceremonial all the way up to Franklin Delano Roosevelt. When he passed away, totally because of his health, that he had just gotten elected for his fourth term.
Yeah.
The 22nd Amendment, thank God, got instituted right after that. But his fourth term, and he unexpectedly passed away, even though he had been in very poor health up until that point.
He was only like 4 months into his fourth term, right?
4 months into his fourth term. He inaugurated on January 20th, and then in April he just he was actually at a retreat where hot springs, and so that was where he got healing for his polio, blah blah blah. But in his hubris, he didn't include his vice president because it was a ceremonial position. He didn't include his vice president. We're in the middle of World War II. You don't include your vice president in any of the talks or what you talk to with Churchill or Stalin, any of those people. The atomic bomb weapons program was going on and being developed.
Yeah.
No, didn't inform anyone about that. So he dies, and Harry S. Truman gets sworn in as the 33rd president of the United States, and he gets all this stuff dumped on him because he's the president now.
Right.
And so, it's a testament to Truman himself that he was able to get up to speed, make decisions. It's, trying to make a decision to bomb, that's hugely difficult.
All right, just as an aside, what do you think? There's a lot of people who still think he made the wrong decision on that, dropping the bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
I don't, because it would have been another Vietnam.
That's what I think too. Right.
Just lives lost and people lost.
I know. I'm sorry.
If you know anything about Chinese or Asian warfare, they're relentless. They'll just
they had no plans on. Matter of fact, we dropped the second bomb because they dropped the first one, and Truman said, "Do you want to quit?" And they said no.
Yep.
We dropped the second, and I don't know if you know this. This was not in your piece. We only had two.
Yeah, no, I knew that.
They said it would take at least 6 more weeks to come up with a third one. So it's like if they didn't quit after the second one, we were kind of screwed.
Most definitely, yeah. But so for him to have to make those decisions without all of that extra background information, again, is a testament to him. But because of that, he didn't even have a vice president once he got sworn in after Delano Roosevelt died.
Yeah.
So once he won his second term, which they didn't think he was, but he did, he appointed his vice president, and he invested him with additional powers. One of those is, you sit in on my meetings. You are part of my cabinet. You sit in on my meetings. You know what's going on. And that he gets daily security briefings, just like the president. So he knows exactly what's going on in world affairs, what threats we're facing. And every president, of course, has, expanded or contracted that depending on what they want. But bottom line, the VP now has a more expansive role, and really it's for our national security. I mean, why would you leave you are the next in line to the presidency? Why would you leave that person in the dark? It's just not right for America, and it's not right for anyone.
You wrote in this piece about the basically the evolution of the 28th Amendment, the one that says that
the 22nd Amendment,
the Second Amendment, and there was things in there I didn't know. Like you said that people had tried to do this basically since the Constitution had been established. That for like 200 years they've been trying to.
147 years. I mean, that they talked about it in the Continental Congress. They talked about it. Should we put limits? How long should it be? We do, because their mindset was, we don't want it to become a monarchy, which is why Washington set the precedent of, I'm going to retire after second term. He's probably fed up anyway, because I mean, it was a hard job then, it's a hard job now. But he set the precedent of 2 terms, and most of the other presidents respected that and also followed that precedent. But it was still an open question or open debate of how long can someone be president? How many terms?
There were a few presidents who attempted it. Nobody succeeded before him.
Right, exactly. They tried, but either they didn't get reelected, or I think maybe. Don't quote me on this, but I think maybe Theodore Roosevelt.
Roosevelt tried it, to
run more than a few terms, and it didn't work.
Do you think FDR succeeded because the war was going on? Do you think it was?
I think so. Had I been able to expand on that article, I would have gone into part of the reason that he stayed in place was because of expediency. Because we were in the midst of World War II. Why change out? Presidencies in the midst of that? He was doing a good job, or so they thought, and so they left it in place.
Right. So if you don't mind, let's go on to another of my favorite topics, which you are very well familiar with, and that's the press. So have you spent any time today figuring out what the press is doing? Because first of all, there's this thing with CNN and Jake Tapper and this lawsuit that just happened. Now, let me explain to the folks here what's going on here. So CNN was found not only guilty of Jesus, what's the word? Defaming this
defamation,
Yeah, defamation. This guy who was working in Afghanistan. Matter of fact, he was an American soldier, wasn't he? If I'm
Yeah.
right.
Yes.
Not only they were found not only guilty of the defamation, they were found of doing it with malice.
Yeah.
That's always been, if you're the press or a public person, that's always been the bar. You have to prove that. And apparently, they not only did that, they did it easily because the internal emails at CNN, they just run roughshod over this guy. So they've been fined $5 million already. They have a punitive judgment coming, which could be hundreds of millions of dollars. Who knows? And so then Jake Tapper gets on CNN today, and he's spouting the same crap. It's what the hell? It's like,
they have some type of death wish, I guess. I mean, I'm amazed that the doors aren't shuttered.
Yeah.
Don't forget, when was now my memory is going, I believe 2017, 2018, the Covington kid, Nicholas Sandman and the Covington kid, he sued and got a truckload of money from CNN.
Right.
Because
We should point out though that they settled. That never actually went to trial.
It didn't go to trial, but the fact is they keep making this same crap, and their analysts keep doing these same things, and they keep getting dinged for it. It's like, first of all, it's not even journalistic integrity. It's like, have some integrity and just don't assume that it's my agenda, so it's okay for me to do things like this.
Yeah,
standards.
I don't understand. It's like I don't understand at all. It's like and they're peddling blatant falsehoods, and they don't seem to care. And
they don't care. And now it's Trump, and it's horrible, and they're going to find anything they can to point out the horrors of another Trump administration, whether it's Elon Musk is doing the Nazi salute, or the horror at the border. They haven't reported on the southern border in 4 years, and now it's like, people are crying and weeping and gnashing of teeth because they don't have an opportunity to come to America to fulfill their dream. It's just like, you're illegal. Go back to your country. I have nothing to say about that except
I'm the child of immigrants. My parents both came here illegally. It's like, you want to come to America, stand in line. That's what I say.
You got it. You got it.
My 100-year-old mother, who's the most liberal person on the planet, even she rails about this. She can't stand it.
Wow.
Because you got people. You're basically, cutting through the line.
Yeah, you are, and basically rendering what other people have done, waited 5-10 years to get their children and their families over here. You've rendered that null and void.
Right. Right. So now you just touched on the other thing about the Nazi salute and the Elon Musk, which is so stupid. I mean, this is just so stupid crap. And then on top of that, so Dan Rather, who's literally, I think, maybe 96 years old. I'm not sure.
I know. I seriously didn't even know he was still alive, to tell you the truth. That's just wow.
Well, so he got canned by CBS as the anchor of the CBS Evening News in 1999 or 2000 for concocting this story about George W. Bush's
National Guard service.
Yeah, National Guard service. And it was completely concocted. It was. And the amazing thing is, so he lost a job because of that, and basically his stature. He's never admitted he was wrong. He's never, and now he's getting on the horn today saying, well, we really have to understand, people have to understand that Trump is an existential threat to democracy. Well, how often do we have to hear this? It's like, I mean, he's already been president once.
Exactly. And nothing happened when he was in those 4 years, except he had to constantly fight impeachment and lawsuits and Russia collusion. And he got resoundingly reelected. Popular vote.
Here's my question.
All 7 swing states. Come on.
Here's my question. I'm very serious about this because you're a journalist. You kind of understand, hopefully, the way these people. What is wrong with these people? Why do they think this way?
Corporate media, they have first of all, they live in a bubble. They live in their little Acela, New York, Washington bubble, and they don't go anywhere in the country unless assigned.
Yeah.
Secondly, you you cater to whoever is feeding you. You don't bite the hand that feeds you, and the hand that is feeding them is the corporate media, and they have an agenda, and their agenda is, we don't like Trump, and we don't like anything right-leaning, and we don't like conservatism, so let's paint it in a certain way. And for the longest time, they had a monopoly and a majority on that train of thought, but now they no longer do. But it's almost like the death knell of a dying industry, and the last flailing of people who are overpaid and useless, as far as I'm concerned, because they don't do any real work.
Yeah. I was watching this afternoon. This is about local time. Central time was maybe about 5 or 6 o'clock. So Trump is at this at the Capital One Center in Washington, and he's signing orders in front of the crowd, and they're announcing what they are, and the crowd is cheering. And I thought, well, first of all, this is the only person on the planet that could turn this into a sporting event. It's like, he did say at one point, "Can you imagine Biden doing this?" No, I can't imagine anybody doing it. But the thing I found kind of interesting about this is that the crowd, they were announcing what these orders were. The crowd very obviously knew what all of them were. And all the for all the bitching and moaning from the mainstream media about the fact that people are being misinformed, I'm starting to think it's actually the opposite, that the reason Trump got elected is because people like you and I are doing this thousands of times every night all over the interwebs, and people are paying attention to us. I mean, we're not going to have a million people watching this, unfortunately, because you're very attractive. Not me. But still, collectively, we are making an impact, and I think it bodes well to what you're talking about, the fact that the mainstream media is collapsing.
It is a dying industry. Their viewer share is, I think, frankly, I get more clicks sometimes than their viewer share, but that's neither here nor there. What is critical is that it's no longer information is no longer siloed, and that break started happening. To go back to Rather, it used to be they had the control of information. And then the blogosphere started happening right around that time, right around the time that Bush was running for his first term. And it was a blog. I used to read it all the time, Little Green Footballs. I don't know if the guy is liberal, conservative. I don't even think he blogs anymore. But he was the one that basically just said, this doesn't look right. And he dug into this information and then basically tore the letter apart. It got traction, boom, Dan Rather was caught. But now you have that one little blog made all that difference, but you have now tens of thousands of podcasts, social media, new media, rallies. I mean, a lot of information is all of the Charlie Kirk rallies. There's other America First type rallies that go on all the time. And the media pays no attention to that, but the people who actually care about their country and want accurate information are going to these.
Thank you about the thing about Little Green Footballs. I'd totally forgotten about that. But I don't remember what the guy's name was either.
I don't either. Charles somebody or another, and I think he's disavowed conservatism. I don't even think he was a real conservative anyway, but I know he's disavowed it.
If you're Dan Rather in 2000, you just kind of think, well, I mean, up to that point, you might have actually been invincible. No one's going to find out about this.
Exactly. A different media unraveled his narrative.
Yeah. Hey, finally, did you catch Barron Trump? This guy fascinates me. First of all, what is he, 9 feet tall?
Yeah, I think 6'7". I think.
Yeah, right. He has all the chutzpah of his father, but he has the refinement of his mother, and I find it really fascinating. I don't know what that guy's going to do with his life, but whatever he is, I just think he's going to be incredibly successful.
Most definitely. I mean, first of all, he's got strategy down. I mean, he is the one that convinced his father, you know what, I love these people and these podcasts. Go on them. Just go talk to them. Go hang out with them.
Yeah.
So that's better strategy than James Carville or some of these people getting paid millions of bucks.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Let's close with this. Do you think Carville actually knew that Kamala was going to lose, or do you think he was truly surprised? Because he's a smart guy.
He wasn't surprised. He
wasn't.
He just said what the party wanted him to say. He's still a party guy.
Right.
The same as Clinton. They're still party folks, but Clinton knew she wasn't going to win either.
Yes. No. Clinton knew his wife wasn't going to win.
Exactly. Yep.
You're doing this all wrong, and they're not listening. Yep. I mean, that's apocryphal, but I truly believe that's true because knowing him, I'm sure he thought that. We're doing this all wrong, and she said, "No, we know what we're doing." I have to tell you, Jennifer, every single time in my life I've heard somebody say, "Trust us, we know what we're doing." They don't. They've screwed up every single time. So
do the opposite.
Hey, thank you, dear. Thanks for joining us. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Sure, it was fun.
And we'll put more links to your these stories up because they're fantastic, all three of them. So
wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks. You take care. We'll talk to you soon.
Have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Thanks. That's Jennifer Oliver O'Connell, writer for RedState.com, and she writes her own Substack at asthegirlturns.com. And we link to the stuff she put up this weekend on our blog, and we'll put links up to these three stories too. And speaking of our website, so we're in the process of changing it. We made quite a few changes this weekend. We're not done yet because we got a whole bunch of stuff going on here. First of all, let me make a fairly big announcement. We've been doing this show ostensibly for 4 days a week, from Monday through Thursday, every night, since July 31st of 23. So we've been doing this almost exactly 18 months. We're making a little change in the schedule. Now we're going to be doing it Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So we're going to be doing it 3 nights a week, but equidistant through the week. And part of the reason I decided doing this because I mentioned this on the program previously. When we hit the 1 year mark, and we were at, I think, 152 shows, if I'm right. And so if you do a little easily 8th grade math, 152 is almost exactly over a year, almost exactly 3 days a week. In other words, we were saying we were doing 4 days a week, but we were actually, because I was missing shows all the time. I've told my wife, as long as I'm not making big bucks doing this, I will preempt for family events, and I ended up doing that. And that's true, and also other stuff too. And then I got, I had surgery earlier last year, and so it turned out to be 3 days a week. So now we're going to do 3 days a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We're always going to do Mondays and Wednesdays live. We may do Friday live and may not. I might tape it on Thursday afternoon sometimes if I have somewhere to go on the weekend or something like that. So we're not making any promise on the live stuff too. But anyway, Monday and Wednesday should almost always be live. So now, along with that too, we've been on Blog Talk Radio for the last year, broadcasting there. They were our only audio only outlet, and they folded. So we have a new telephone number. And speaking of that, we just got a new call here. I'm going to put this person on. Hello, can you hear me? Hello.
Hey, Jim, this is Think.
Think, you found us. I couldn't figure out how to get a hold of everybody in Blog Talk Radio who was calling in. Because we tried to do a couple of shows there at the end, and the end is still not come yet, but we could never connect. I mean, I don't know what's going on with them, but it seems. But so I'm glad you called in. Thank you.
Yeah, I follow you on YouTube, which is much better format. I get to see all your guests and everything, or your other hosts on your show. So I think it's much better format than Blog Talk.
Good. Well, yeah, we're on.
For sure.
Yeah, we're off of Blog Talk, and we were on 5 video places: YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, Twitch, and Trovo. That's the 5 outlets we're on. So thank you for calling in. How are you doing?
Pretty good. I wanted tell me if I wanted to talk about black holes. Is it off topic from what you're talking about?
No, I don't care because that's no,
All right.
that's fine. Yeah. Okay, you're talking about black holes. You're talking about like outer space black holes, right?
That's that's correct. Yep.
Right.
I
Okay.
heard this. I heard this theory on Star Talk, which is Tyson DeGrassi's
Yeah. Hey, let me ask you,
podcast.
what do you think of that guy? Because
I think he's as mainstream intelligent as you can get. I don't think he goes off topic like in terms of UFOs or ancient civilizations. I think he's straightforward. What the school teaches you, that's what
yeah,
he goes by.
right.
Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, it was, and that's kind of what I think too. So I was kind of glad to hear you say that. I don't know exactly what to think of the guy, but yeah, I don't think there's any. I don't know if there's any brilliance there, but he's serving a purpose. So I don't know.
No.
Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think there's a brilliance there. I think there's like he's book smart. I think that's
Yeah.
him. Like he's
Yeah.
book smart.
Right.
That's about it. Yeah. But I wanted to run this theory that I heard on his show about black holes. So time and space is relevant, and it's supposed to be like they're equal to each other. The farther you go, the farther in time you go.
Yeah.
So the farther you go, it's also the time. So with a black hole, when you go into a black hole, you get sucked into a black hole. So the black hole sucks all the space of you.
Yeah.
Well, since it's sucking in your space, it's also sucking in your time. So whatever you had, your whole reality gets sucked into a black hole with you. So it's like this. If I were to write on a piece of paper and give it to you, the diagram of some blueprint or something like that, you would be able to read it. But if you were to burn it, you would burn the paper I gave you, but the information still stays. Like if you read it before you burned it, you would know it.
Yeah.
But with a black hole, if you were to throw in that note into the black hole, it would erase everything that goes with it. The person that wrote it, the whole timeline, the whole reality of that whole procedure, maybe.
Yeah.
The whole thing just disappears with it. How do you feel about that? And that's supposed to be from Stephen Hawking.
Right.
That's his theory about the black hole. It's not just sucking in. If you were to go into a black hole, it's not just you getting destroyed. It's your whole reality. Everything about you gets wiped out of reality.
It's actually funny you should bring this up because I was just reading about this topic just recently from another point of view, and that is quantum mechanics. So there's another guy right now who come up with a theory that's apparently being making the rounds in the physics community, and his theory is that you could go back in time. And you bear with me for a second because it sounds like I'm getting off topic, but I'm not. He says you can go back in time, but if you did, and what the grandfather paradox is, and that is you go back in time and you kill your grandfather, and therefore you can no longer exist. And he said, well, you could go back in time and kill your grandfather, and then come back to the present. And he says, not only would you still be here. In other words, his theory is that you can't change the past, even if you're in it. But he says you wouldn't even remember going back in time. He says, because it's kind of like what you're saying. He's saying that the quantum mechanics involved in the time shift would basically erase all the stuff in your brain memory that would indicate that you wouldn't even know you went back in time, which is kind of just really weird, but it kind of makes sense. I don't know. In other words, he's kind of saying the same thing you're saying from a different point of view.
Yeah, it's kind of it's kind of. But what I'm saying is, it won't be just a memory. It's everything completely associated with that memory.
Yeah.
So if I were to give you a note, I write down the blueprint of some formula and I give it to you, like a recipe to making a pie. I give it to you, but then you take that pie or that recipe on the piece of paper and you throw it into the black hole. the whole step will get destroyed with that piece of paper.
Yeah.
So me writing it down would be destroyed. The whole experience of me giving it to you would be destroyed. All of it would be wiped out completely. It's not just a memory, it's the whole reality of it. And that's just so complex for me to wrap my head around. That's it. But in terms of what you were saying about time travel, I strongly believe in what Marvel said about it. And I think Marvel took it off of some physicists as well, where if you were to go back in time, and I'm starting to think it's very possible to go back in time, according to the black hole theory that Stephen
Right.
Hawking is talking
That's right.
about.
And that's the reason I
If
brought that
you
up.
are,
Right. Go ahead.
yep. If you are to go back in time and change the past, you just build another timeline. That's it. I strongly believe you just build another timeline and continue in a different timeline.
Yeah.
That's it. And basically, you just make a parallel universe or another reality, and you live in that new reality. That's the only way. That's the best possible way to explain it.
Yeah, but
in my
okay.
opinion.
So now we're gonna get people. We're dancing on the edge of a pin. All right. So the thing is, I'm kind of with you on that. So the thing is, there's two possible things that can happen. If you go back in time and change history, if you stayed there, history would probably be different. So this physicist said if you came back to the present, your present would have changed, even though, like you're saying, there would be a parallel timeline where other things happen, but you wouldn't be in it. That's kind of what you know what I mean? So it gets really complicated. I don't. My gut tells me, this is my gut. What do I know? I don't know shit. My gut tells me that there'd be no problem going backward in time, but you couldn't go forward because the future has not been determined yet. I don't know. And then so I'm reading this thing too, and this guy's talking about, well, you have to understand, if time is a dimension, so we have three dimensions in our reality, up, sideways, and down, or forward and backward. He said, well, you should be able to do the same thing with time. In other words, all we do is go forward in time, but you should be able to go sideways, down, up, and I can't even wrap my mind around that, but he's got a point. I mean, it seems just logic would seem to indicate that's true. And I don't know what would happen if you go sideways in a timeline. I have no idea. I don't know if anybody does. Do you?
Wow, that's some fourth dimension stuff. If you're talking about going sideways,
yeah, it is.
I mean, that's yeah. It's got to be somebody overlooking it to see a sideways thing, because for us in the third dimension, I think all we see is back and forth.
Right.
So I don't understand sideways. That's fourth dimensional thinking right there.
And have you ever seen the
really
drawings of fourth dimensional? People try to render four dimensions either on paper or else in a three-dimensional space. I can't wrap my mind around that either. I can't. There's something called a tesseract, which is like a cube in four-dimensional space. I don't understand.
Yeah. I remember that there was this kid, I think he was like 12 or 13-year-old, and explained it that way, where how, like what you're talking about, it's a cube, but someone's looking at the cube, right? Is that what
I don't even know how to explain it. I don't. Your explanation is as good as any I've heard. That'll work. Let's go with that. Hey, that's some thing. Did you see perchance this weekend a special that was on News Nation about Roth Coulthart and the guy who said he retrieves UFOs for the American military? Did you see that?
I'm pretty sure I seen a glimpse of it, but I didn't really pay deep attention to it. Okay, can you break it down for me?
Yeah, sure. Because the real well, first of all, he says they showed a film of them actually carrying a UFO with a helicopter. Now, the thing is, everyone on the internet web has their undies in a bundle about this, but I mean, I gotta admit, it'd be fairly easy to fake that. It would. But I really was kind of wrapped up with his testimony, because first of all, he's been vetted thoroughly. I mean, he's a real person, and he is a real rank in the military and all this sort of stuff. Coulthard said they spent 2 years going through this stuff, and there's no doubt he is who he says he is. They don't have any doubt about that. So whether he did this stuff or not, and then the question is, well, why would he make it up or lie? But the real thing is that he said, and this is getting more and more press and traction everywhere I look now in the UFO community, about the fact that he said he picked up one of these objects, which he called an 8-sided disc, and with his helicopter. He's a helicopter pilot. He said he never actually touched any of these things. His job was to come in and hook them up and actually take them to another location. So, okay, fine. So he said that he picked up one of these objects with his helicopter, and he said he was overcome with emotion. He said basically somebody was communicating with him. And the implication, although he didn't say it, the implication was that there was a being on that craft that was in distress. That was what the implication was. But I'm reading more and more stuff now. Now, when I got who wrote this book? I'm reading a book. Oh, a guy named Grant Cameron, and he was the former executive director of MUFON here in the United States for the entire U.S. And he wrote a book called UFO Pilots, and he talked to 50 people who say they were abducted by aliens, and also said the aliens gave them an opportunity to drive their spacecraft. And all 50 of them described basically a very similar experience, and that is, they said that you connected all of them said that physically it involved them putting their hand on a plate or their fingers in this chair where there was slots for their fingers to fit in it. And he said once you did that, you mentally connected with the spacecraft, and then they said they all realized the spacecraft is conscious. And he said they could drive the spacecraft with their mind. Now, that's crazy crap, but the thing is, so all right, I'm going to talk here for a second. Forgive me, but this is going to take a while. This guy named Jake Barber that Coulthard interviewed this last weekend, he said that there's people now. This is this Project Stargate thing in the United States military is very well documented. This is real. There's no doubt about that. About the fact that they have people that can do remote viewing. In other words, it can project their mind to another location and look around, right? Now, the really, really weird thing about this, the part that I have a hard time wrapping my mind around, and Louis Elizondo said this in his book this last year, Imminent, he said that they also discovered that basically anybody can be taught how to do this. He said it's like singing. It's like some people are better than others, but pretty much anybody can do it. And I have a real hard time with that. I understand there might be gifted people that do this, but I have a hard time with the fact that anybody can be taught to do it. But anyway, Jake Barber said that he has people that he knows that can remote view, and they basically can conjure up. They can invite the extraterrestrial spacecraft to fly by. And he said they've done it many times. So I don't know. It's like this consciousness thing. I don't know. Have you heard about this or read about this or anything like that?
I can give you a personal experience of something similar to that.
Oh, please do.
I believe it.
Please do.
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, I believe what you say. Yeah.
No, okay, I want to hear your personal experience.
Okay. This is okay. My brother.
Well, hold it. First of all, think nobody knows who you are here. You know that you're using an alias. Okay. You know, no one can see you, so you don't have to worry about that. So, okay.
All right. So my brother ran away from home a long time ago, and my dad
permanently or just for a while.
What's that? I'm sorry.
Permanently or just for a while?
He ran away from home, and so I came home one day. I knew that my brother ran away from home, and I came home that day pretty late at night, and my dad had said he had this dream where a man came knocking on the door, and the man had like a lunch bag, a brown paper bag, and pulled my brother's head out of that bag.
Oh, Jesus.
Now, yeah, and I was, yeah, it's nothing. Don't worry about it.
Okay, all right.
And it was the next day. A private investigator or somebody came and had the bag had a brown paper bag and pulled out my brother's driver's license and asked my dad, "Is this your son?" So my brother ended up dying of he committed suicide, and that was when that happened. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It was
I
my
get,
brother's
I get
head. It
exactly
was,
what you're talking
but it
about.
was a
Right,
driver's license.
right. It
So
was,
and I hear many stories like this where people do things that like they can foresee something in they have ability. I don't know if it's an ability, but they do things that foresee things that are about to come.
yeah.
And yeah, I hear a lot of it, and that's my personal story for you. I mean, I've heard multiple other people say similar things like that too. So I believe that we do have. I I mean, this whole thing about time and space. If that is true, there must be a way for us to bend it. Does that make sense, or
Oh,
travel within it?
yeah, but try this on for side. Yeah, physically
Okay.
with physics, we know how to bend space, or at least theoretically we do. But some of the
Yeah.
alien abductees have said that aliens with their minds can travel anywhere in the universe almost instantly. That's with their
Oh,
ships. They can actually direct their ships.
good.
Like if you want to fly to the Andromeda galaxy to see star X14, we can get there like in 15 seconds. That's what they say.
Jim, you had said on one of your shows the most incredible thing I've ever heard, and that you had said that our bodies are like we're like televisions,
Yeah,
right? And our bodies get a signal like how a television gets a broadcasting
right.
signal. So when the television dies, that doesn't mean that the signal dies. The
No,
signal still travels.
that's
It's just
correct.
the body can't accept the signal anymore.
Right.
So maybe and so I would say that if that I agree with you on that for some reason. I don't know where the signal is coming from, but I believe that our wavelength, like with time and space, is a signal, and like with a signal, it's on some sort of line where it can be moved around.
Right. Right.
If that makes sense.
No, that
Yeah.
makes total sense. I totally agree with you, and I don't know where the signals coming from either. That's the big mystery, really. If you buy that concept, and a lot of people do, we don't know where the signal is coming from. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
coming. You know, I don't know, but
Well,
yeah, I totally buy it. Go ahead.
so so Jim, oh man, normally I don't believe in UFOs. There were a lot of experiences in my past, like I one time my friend and I was at I live in upstate New York. We
Okay.
had seen this big looked like a fireball in the sky, and my friend saw it. He's a big UFO guy, and he's like, "Look at that!" And I was like, "It's just a helicopter, but why is it solid?" Like this was over 15 years ago,
Yeah.
and we looked at this this light in the sky for like 10 minutes. Eventually it went down. Now I always thought that it was a plane, but how can a plane stand still like that? But I've been seeing that without throughout the 15 years often. One day I was out fishing in my area. We fish for salmon at night, and when it's at night, like 11 or 12 o'clock in the country area, there's no street lights. You get to really see up in the sky, and I
Right.
would see objects like what I saw that day often. And I asked this fisherman next to me what he thought it was, and he said that it was a satellite. So for the longest time I was thinking these objects were satellites that are super bright in the sky and that we could see them. And then recently the whole drone thing came out, and I'm telling you, those are the objects that I've been seeing for the past 15 years. Similar, and right, if you want, I can go outside in that country area and see it right now. I've
Now,
taken pictures of these things.
think first of all, I know you're absolutely correct. There's no satellite that's bright. Secondly, the fact that you saw one, have been seeing them since, is very common among what the lack of a better term. I don't like it, but what's called experiencers. I had my friend Jazz Shaw, who passed away, very unfortunately, tragic loss. Who used to come on the show regularly. He wrote about UFOs for Salem Media, and he said and he died on October 29th. He was 69. And he said that about 3 or 4 years ago, he went his entire life, never saw anything unusual at all. And then he saw something. He saw a UFO with his wife for the first time ever. And he said that same year, in 1 year, they saw 6 more. And then he said that stuff was starting to follow him around. And then, and this is really, really the weird thing. Are you familiar with the Skinwalker Ranch thing? That they do on what is it? History Channel. They do that show, The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. Well, a lot of people don't buy that, but Jazz said as a journalist he was invited to go to Skinwalker Ranch and he declined because, I don't know if you know this, people who say they've gone there, every single person says the crap follows them home. And he said he was getting crap in his house from just seeing all these UFOs that had nothing to do with Skinwalker Ranch. And he said he didn't want to even risk it because he said, I've heard this too. Everybody who goes there says this crap follows them, regardless of where they live. Even if they live across the country, this stuff follows them home. And he said he did not want to deal with it. And so it doesn't surprise me at all that you saw one and then you keep seeing them. Because I hate to say it, they're following you. Because there seems to be, it's like once there's a psychic connection you make with these things by recognition or whatever it is, I don't know what it is. Now, I've never experienced this myself, even though I've seen a couple things, but they don't follow me. But I think, by the way, let me ask you, do you live in the Hudson River Valley or close to it?
Yeah, I live in Rochester area. Do you know where Rochester is? It's in between Buffalo.
Right.
It's Lake Ontario area. So I think they're Hudson Valley. Yeah. I'm not that far from there. That's for sure.
Yeah, because
I don't think so.
I don't know if you know this, but there's been a slew of sightings in the valley, the Hudson River Valley, for years. That people have. I mean, thousands of people said they've seen these giant UFOs all over the place. So I don't know. I want to know if you live close to there or not. So I don't know if Rochester would be that close. Go ahead, please go ahead.
Yeah. I think the Hudson Valley. No, I'm far from that. Hudson Valley is over in New York City area.
Right.
So
that's right.
I'm quite a distance from it.
Yeah.
I'm on the other side of it. Yeah. So back to the drones real quick, Jim. So I don't know why they didn't show this, but I've seen footage of so the drones are usually at our level in the sky, right? They're not that far above the highest building, let's say, these flying machines, but they have found objects in the stratosphere. So planes fly all the way up into the stratosphere where it's clear, so that they can fly up there without turbulence, right?
Yeah.
And they've seen these objects in that area as well, and they have been filmed as well all the way up there.
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
Have you heard of?
Yeah, I have. The other thing. No, go ahead. Keep talking. I'm sorry to cut you off.
I don't want you to lose your train of thought.
Okay.
But real quick, it's not. Go ahead. I won't. All
right. I was going to say that what's been going on, like in New Jersey, northern New Jersey and stuff. People have said that there's two different types of quote unquote drones. There's real drones, ones that have propellers, although they're quite large. Apparently, most of them, a lot of them are the size of a large car. That's not anything. It's not something you buy at Target. There's those, and then there's what people are calling drones, are basically these silver spheres that are flying around with no visible means of production, and that they're both up there. And everyone's calling them all drones by default, but the implication is, well, you have some man-made drones, and then you have some drones that maybe aren't man-made. That's what they're kind of getting at. So I don't know. Is that what your experience or what you've seen, or?
Yeah. Actually, I've seen. So drones, if they're flying up in the sky, they fly wobbly compared to a plane.
Yeah.
A plane will fly. If you look at a plane, it's kind of like you could draw a line and the plane is going straight. There's no wobbly in it.
That's right.
But with these drones, you could see that the wind is blowing it and it's wobbly.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been seeing. Like
Yeah.
these super bright lights in the sky moving very, very slowly, but wobbly.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what but I don't see it only when I go out fishing during when the salmon comes in, or when I'm deep at night on something. I'll look up in the sky and usually I see them. And maybe they're following me around, but I sincerely doubt it. I just don't think that people are paying attention to it.
Oh,
It's up
interesting.
there. I was with a girl probably around a month ago, and I told her, we were talking about. I was like, "Let me show you," and then I just drove into like a dark area, country area. Upstate New York, we have a lot of these country areas, and I drove her down. I'm like, "Look, you see that right there?" And she was shocked too. They're everywhere up in this area. It's just, I mean,
That's amazing. Yeah, go ahead.
I took pictures of one of them, and someday hopefully I'll find a way to send you this picture, and I'll show you. I was at the gas station one day, and it was the moon, and there was a bright light next to the moon. I was like, "There's no way that's a star." And I asked somebody else, "Is that a star?" He was like, "No, that's some weird bright object up there." And it wasn't a plane, but I took a picture of it anyway. That's the first time ever I took a picture of one of these. So
a lot of people are saying these are Starlink satellites, but the thing with a Starlink satellite is, like you're talking about airplanes, they move constantly. They're moving in a straight line. You know, they don't hover either. So what you're seeing isn't that. So
how about this, Jim? Can we see satellites? Is it possible for us to see satellites?
It is, yeah. But the thing is, they're still pretty small, and you have to have a pretty sharp eye to actually see them. But yeah, you can see them. Yeah, but they aren't big. I mean, you're talking about stuff that's very recognizably like. I mean, based on what you're telling me, it's like looking at a silver dollar up in the sky or something like that. I mean, no, satellites aren't like that. They aren't. They're actually quite small. You have to be quite have quite good vision to actually see them even. So hey, my email address is on the contact page of my website. If you want to send me some pictures, I'd appreciate it. I would.
And you got it. Awesome.
Hey, you tell me also if I can show them. Tell me that too. If you don't want me to show them, I won't. But yes,
you could definitely show them. I took pictures, and every time I show somebody, they are shocked that I actually got one. But yeah, definitely, you could have it. Do whatever you want with it.
Thank you.
And if you have any questions on it, let me ask you, Jim. Do you think this is our first? What is it? What is that called? When these UFOs are actually starting to make contact with us? There's a terminology for it. But anyway, do you think they're trying to attempt contact now with us? Is that why we're starting to see more of them?
I think I do. There's been I've talked about this on the show regularly. There's been talk in the military community, and like Jazz mentioned this to me, and other people have talked about this too, and I've read about this. There's a lot of people in the military who say that something's going to happen in 2027, 2026, or 2027. And I mean, that sounds kind of stupid because, there's all sorts of Nostradamuses online that say that crap. But this has been saying for quite a few years. So you go back 10 years ago, and people were still saying then in 2027 something's going to happen. And there's still people saying that. But I don't know what that is. And if people do know, they aren't letting on. But yeah, I have the feeling that the ETs are actually trying to prep us for, and I actually think that's what some of this drone stuff is too. They're starting to prep us for contact. I think that's what's going on here. I really do. So I don't know. Interesting.
Yeah. So these drones or whatever these objects are, it's not just in New Jersey. They're everywhere.
Yes.
Well, they're finding them everywhere here in the United States. And they're also finding them in other countries as well.
That's right.
Yeah. But I think in New Jersey, since so many people it's in such a populated area that people are actually taking, photos and stuff.
You are absolutely right, Think. other than Manhattan, northern New Jersey is the single most densely populated place in the U.S. So if you wanted people to see you, that's where you'd go. And that, you're not the only person to bring that up too. People have thought of that too. It's like, yeah, if you're trying to put on a show, that's the place to do it, because there's so many people up there. You're bound to. I'm here. I mean, I'm watching Fox News, and Joe Concha's talking about the fact that he can't go outside at night with his kids. That he said his kids have actually named the drones. They fly around all the time. Yeah, they're around every night, and his kids say, "Oh, like there's Bernie," or something like that. They've named them.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But yeah, no, that's a big theory of that. It's like, if you want somebody to see you in the US, that's the first place you'd go. So, and of course you can't go to Manhattan because there's too many tall buildings and there's too much light. But like you said, I grew up in southern Minnesota, which is very much like upstate New York. So I know very much what you're talking about. And New Jersey is extremely densely populated, but there's still not a lot of tall buildings or not a lot of light. So it's a good place to go if you want to be seen. So I don't know if that's what's going on. I don't know. I mean, Trump says he knows and he's going to tell us. It'll be interesting. There's a lot of people that think that Trump's going to make the ultimate disclosure. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I really don't. I mean, there's people who said he had a chance to in his first term and decided not to for whatever reason. There's all sorts of theories on why the politicians don't come out and actually say what's going on. Because the thing is, in the UFO community, and people will say we're all nuts, but the thing is, we keep constantly being proven true. So I don't know about that, but there's a theory that says that there's a huge struggle in the Pentagon of whether the public should be told this, because some people think the public can't handle it, and I honestly don't know if that's true or not. I just don't know. But you got people like you in upstate New York who are looking at the sky and you're seeing shit. Sooner or later, somebody has to say something. I mean, this can't go on for like years. It can't.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think the public can handle it either. I mean, the whole AI aspect is like people are so scared of it because of all these movies like Terminator, and so they're scared of like the AI, and then all these movies about UFOs and aliens. I think people are scared, and I could respect the government for saying, "Hey, we shouldn't disclose this yet."
Yeah.
I mean, you saw what happened during COVID.
Right.
There's still people going around with masks right now.
Yeah.
While driving in their cars. Just people are so terrified.
I don't know if you know who Nick Pope is. He's the guy who's on Ancient Aliens all the time. He's a British guy who used to work at the UFO desk for the Ministry of Defense in Britain. He said he's been advocating for the government to talk about this until COVID hit, and then he realized, oh shit, people can't handle this stuff. He said he said COVID proved to him that people could not handle this information. That's what he thinks. And I got to be honest with you. Even though I talk about this on the show like almost every night, I think the public can't handle it either. I think the majority and Jazz Shaw and I argued about this because it's the only thing we disagreed with. And it's not so much that I don't think the American public can handle it. Maybe they can. But if we tell the American public, we tell the world. I think there's people all over the planet who can't handle this at all. I mean,
no.
Shit, the Middle East, they're 200 years behind us. I mean, they are, so I don't know. It's a quandary. But on the other hand, too, I don't think you can go outside and see these things every damn night for 5-7 years and not expect somebody to say something, And you stop and think about it. If you're thinking about how the extraterrestrials would look at this, that's exactly how they do it. They would fill the air. They'd fill our airspace with these things and make them so obvious they couldn't be ignored after a while. That's what would happen. So anyway.
A few years back, in Buffalo, New York, there was a snowstorm, and it blocked a whole bunch, and I think like 100 people died being trapped in their cars and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And what ended up happening was all these people started rioting during the snowstorm. They were breaking into like supermarkets and everything like that just to get food. There was no order, right? And so I would agree with what you said about that person saying that that the people cannot handle the government coming out saying that aliens are real. and I think they know this for a fact. People are just so twisted. I don't know if it's twisted or uneducated or something like that, but the majority of people, I don't think can act rationally once they find out, hey, aliens are here.
I don't know
Does
if,
that make sense?
yeah,
I
I don't know if it's a majority, but it's certainly a sizable minority. And like you too, I don't understand why I don't understand the thinking process. And you brought up a perfect example, but the fact there's still people driving around in their cars alone wearing masks. I mean, that's crazy.
Right.
But no, I see it every day. I
Yeah.
know what you're talking about. So if
Yeah.
it's not hard to extrapolate that into the fact that people couldn't handle this. And even if you're talking about a sizable minority, that's still enough of people. I mean, if you're talking about 30% of the American public, well, you don't want 30% of people rioting. You don't. I mean, that's a lot of people doing a lot of rioting, and you're right. That might happen. So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. This is what I think. This is what I think is going on right now. I think the aliens are here. I'm not a UFO guy. I try to be as scientific and realistic, like Tyson DeGrassi, as possible. I try to think like mainstream, like reality. But I think that aliens are here, and that these drones are government or some organization trying to communicate with the aliens. It's not just drones up there. There's also pods.
Yeah.
You know what pods are, right? Those solid things that just stand still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, and I think that there's a government organization or something that are using these drones to try to communicate with these pods. I think that's what they're trying to do, and that's why we're seeing so abundant of it. But they won't tell us.
I think the exact same thing. I've been, it's really crazy. I'm sitting here saying the government shouldn't tell people, but I get here every night. One of my missions doing this show is to tell people, yeah, the aliens are here. And I know I look crazy, but I don't care because I've been studying this topic for 30 years, and the evidence at this point to me is absolutely overwhelming. Now, whether we're ever going to talk to them, whether they're actually going to land on the White House lawn, any of that crap, I have no idea. But no, they're coming here. To me, there's no doubt at this point. So, but what you're talking about is whether they want us to see them. That's that's the kind of like step 2. And so, I don't know. It looks like they do. That's all I can say. Hey, send me those pictures, and I actually think I have your telephone number here. Believe it or not, I got this new system here. It's very, very, very comprehensive. So you call back anytime. You know that. But
Okay,
send me
it. I'll send you those pictures.
Yeah, send me the pictures. Yeah. So, like I said, even if there's like one you don't want me to show, make certain to say so, because I'm not going to do anything you don't want me to do. So, okay.
You got it. All right, Jim, I'll send you those pictures. Thanks for having me on your show.
Oh,
again.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. You take care. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Let's think. He's calling from Rochester, New York, and he's a regular caller on the show, and I'm glad he found us because he was a regular caller from Blog Talk Radio, and I was really concerned. We had quite a few regular callers on Blog Talk Radio, and I never was able to actually kind of make any attempt to get a hold of them. So I'm glad that he called. But yeah, we got off. It's like, I don't know if that's off topic or not. I don't think so. I'm going to talk about that stuff. Matter of fact, I had UFO stuff as I usually do at the end here. I don't care. It's like, if it's interesting, I'm good. I think he's extremely interesting. So I'm glad he called. I hope we hear from him again. And so I'm going to end it for tonight, folks. So here's the deal. Like I said again, we're coming back on Wednesday. I don't have a guest lined up for Wednesday or Friday yet, but I should at this point. But we should have people. Want to thank Jennifer Oliver O'Connell for coming on, and Think for calling in. Want to thank that. Once again, our number is 325-CALL-JIM. That's 325-225-5546. Now, I got to put this on our weblog, on our blog. What the hell am I talking about? Weblog. All right. We have the text number still works, 408-458-5088. You can text us. Before, I wanted you could call in and leave a voicemail there too. Now I would prefer that you call in on the call-in number and leave a voicemail. In other words, if we're not on the air, you can call 325 call Jim and leave a voicemail about anything. And if if they're pertinent or interesting enough, I will play them. So you do that if you want. So we'll be back on Wednesday. Nice to see all the. It sounds like I'm being dismissive here, but I'm kind of glad of this. Get this inauguration stuff over with. It was a long day today, and a lot of people had a lot of things to say. But maybe life gets back to normal, huh? So yeah, we'll be back on Wednesday night, and we hope you are too. Donna, thank you for watching. Really appreciate it. Good night, Esperanza. Good night, Uncle Donnie, and good night to you wherever you are. We'll see you on Wednesday night. Take care, everybody.